This guide has been inspected and approved by Luminous.
Hey guys, this is SunsFan and welcome to the official Dota Cinema Guide to Chaos Knight. If you aren't familiar with this hero, you may want to watch the introduction we did for him at the corresponding link. Chaos Knight, otherwise known as CK, is a strength hero whose skills rely on random chance. Despite this, he is an able carry who has great potential to gank and push. Skill build. We have two skill builds for Chaos Knight. The first we'll talk about is the default skill build. Maxing out Chaos Bolt first is required on both. The fact that you won't get at least a 2-second stun until level 4 is very important to note. Second, we max Reality Rift by 8, which of course means we're skipping the ultimate. Reality Rift doesn't scale as well as some spells in the game, and is actually pretty effective at level 1, but the range increase along with the cooldown going down from 24 to 6 is reason enough for us to level it up. Also realizing that this in most cases will be your initiation tool makes this an easy decision overall. After this, believe it or not, you'll be maxing Chaos Strike. Not much needs to be said about the skill itself, but what we do need to talk about is why you don't level your ultimate yet. Chaos Knight is typically mana starved, so in many cases he can't even use all 3 spells without being completely out of mana. This is an awful thing considering both Reality Rift and Chaos Bolt have pretty low cooldowns. As a result, you'll finish off with Phantasm at 14, 15, and 16. The second build is very close to the previous one, but is more for teams that either need a little bit more pushing power, or if Chaos Knight has enough arcane boots on his team to spam his spells. Levels 1 through 8 are exactly the same as the default skill build, but at 9 you'll go stats because, well, it's a cool thing to do. At 10 and 11, skill your ultimate, since it really does provide quite a bit of pushing power. This of course means maxing Chaos Strike last, from levels 12 to 15, while finishing off your level 3 ulti at 16. Item build. One note about Chaos Knight is that he can be very effective in a game without a whole lot of items. But on the other hand, if you need him to take over the game, then he could be considered very item dependent. Starting items would include the basic regeneration to go along with branches for an eventual magic wand. And lastly, pick up a Gauntlet of Strength. Boots on Chaos Knight are power treads. The attack speed is nice, but being able to change the attributes from strength to intel can be very important, especially for somebody as mana dependent as CK. For later in the game, getting some boots of travel to replace your treads could be a good idea as well. Being able to teleport and push at moment's notice can be very devastating. Your core items will differ based on your preference. The mana dependency is not something you can ignore, and you need to remedy it to some degree. If you plan to be roaming a bit, then getting a bottle could be great, since the runes will make you completely overpowered. If you choose not to roam, then turning your Gauntlet of Strength into a Drum of Endurance will be extremely beneficial for not only you and your teammates, but your illusions as well. Armlet of Mordigian is next on the list. This thing will buff the crap out of not only you but your illusions as well. Just make sure to create your illusions after you've activated it. As far as items beyond this point, it's completely situational. But luckily for CK players, a ton of items are great on him. If the enemy team has some crowd control and you'd like to avoid it, get a BKB. If you'd like to get a nice mix of damage and survivability, then opt for a Heart of Tarask. A Sange Yasha is also an excellent item on CK because of the movement speed increase and the maim. The fact that you can disassemble it into both a Manta and Heaven's Halberd makes it even more attractive. An Assault Cuirass would also be a great pickup if you need a little bit of extra pushing power to go along with physical tankiness. A Satanic would also make sense for the later stage of the game, and in some cases we even see a Diffusal Blade because of its mana burn working on all your illusions. In other words, friends, Chaos Knight loves all items. Does that make him a whore? Gameplay. One thing you need to know about Chaos Knight is that he has one of the fastest base movement speeds in the game. I mean, he's on a freaking horse, so it kinda does make sense. But what I'm trying to get at here is that because of this fact, along with his skill set, he is a really effective ganker. So instead of farming, be a little bit more active. Like we touched on earlier, Chaos Bolt can provide a very long stun and good damage, but it can also be horrendous on both fronts as well. But this kind of inconsistency is to be expected from a hero that relies on a random number generator. Once you hit level 4 on your stun, your gank should be a little bit more consistent. Reality Rift is what makes CK a great ganker, since it's terrific as both an initiation and a chase utility. Chaos Strike has a very low static 10% chance to proc at all levels, but the rewards of proccing at level 4 means you'll be dealing 3 times your normal damage, which is the highest non-ultimate critical strike in the game. In teamfights, you want to pop your Phantasm first and follow it up with a Reality Rift. This will blink all your illusions in conjunction with yourself and automatically give them an attack command. Follow this up with a Chaos Bolt to hold them in place while you right-click away. This kinda goes against conventional wisdom to some degree in the fact that many players just stun first and then Reality Rift. If your team is backing you up, using Reality Rift first is almost always better. It'll bring the enemy closer to you and your team, and will also not waste precious stun duration and cast animation. And of course, if you do win the team fight, your illusions will beat the living bejesus out of towers, so take advantage of that. Friends and foes. Friends of Chaos Knight and his menacing horse are those that would benefit from a guaranteed stun. Leshrac is a perfect example of this with his hard-to-hit Split Earth. But also a lot of supports like Venomancer, Lion, and Lina would appreciate a little loving from CK. Chaos Knight hates going against harder carries than him, which would include the likes of Void and Spectre. But more importantly, he can't stand being mana drained, since it's by far his biggest weakness. A few heroes that can sap his mana include Anti-Mage, Silencer, Lion, and even Bane's Fiend's Grip. In closing, all you really need to know about Chaos Knight is his horse is amazing. Thanks for watching, guys, and please remember to subscribe to our YouTube. Also, a big thanks to Flawless and Luminous who helped create this guide. You can check them out at their YouTube channels, which are linked in the video description. Also, be sure to check out our website at dotacinema.com. My name is SunsFan, and we love you guys.